Welcome back, Episode 4 of How to Make It series. Today I have the illustrious Saibar. She's a veteran in the Western Canada poetry community, a veteran in the design community, as well as some startup community as well too.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. I like that. A true artist. Luckily, we were able to link up quickly. She sent me a message early this evening saying, "Oh, you know what? I can make this work. Well, let's roll through." And now here we are. So, Saibar, I wanted to personally thank you for dropping by on Episode 4 and stuff. And one of the key things that I want to talk about with this series is overcoming failures and reaching the success and what success means for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
My definition of success is very, very different than some folks, and your definition of success will definitely be different as well too.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the biggest failures that I know, and I always want to learn and try to understand how people go through the processes, trying to understand their failures and overcoming them, and how to be successful as well too. So what's your take on that?
If you have all day.
Yeah, we do. Oh, sure.
Honestly, I think I have failed numerous times, and sometimes when you think it's gonna get worse, it just gets worse.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's what really helped me get to where I am, and I'm still failing, and I'm still trying to get better at my craft. Or even if I don't find opportunities, I kind of use every failure as a lesson. And so it really helped me kind of gain more confidence, to kind of fight back from the fears that I've had, and it really just comes from with growth. So yeah, I've definitely failed a lot. So for example, I've had a few projects that I wanted to work on, one of them being film, and here I am thinking, I'm just gonna get into it because, as a spoken word artist, I've always wanted to use different platforms to share my story. And I thought, you know what, let's just try it out, because what's the worst that can happen? Maybe failure. Right?
Yeah.
And so I pursued it. I've tried to get more mentors and learn, obviously, and it just kind of gets me back to square one, because it just doesn't work out sometimes. So, and then there's multiple other things too, like kind of putting together a showcase. And, I've kind of been doing poetry for about over 10 years, I would say, as a spoken word artist, but I've been writing for a very long time. And so even just kind of, making sure that I'm writing from the heart and not just with what people want to hear, I think I've been able to master that. And anybody can really try to tell their story the most authentic way. I think that is in itself a master class almost. But yeah, I just feel like failure is just one of the things that I'm just gonna constantly face.
True, and I think in terms of in your defense, I think the projects that you're pursuing, I wouldn't count them as you may see it as failures, but I think I see them more in terms of learning the craft. And you were saying, I've been in spoken poetry for 10 years now. That 10 years is, there's a joke where it's like, people always talk about overnight success. Yeah, it took Big Sean 10 years to have that overnight success. It took Kanye West, it took Jay-Z. Jay-Z's first, album was, not Reasonable Doubt. I'm talking about Hawaii shirt Jay-Z. He went through the process. It wasn't until he created his record label. It wasn't until Big Sean went to a freestyle with Kanye West that he got that chance, right? So I think that you're honing down your craft more than anything else.
Yeah.
And those kind of failures, I think, help you to understand. Oh, you know what? This is not what I'm looking for in film. This is not what my kind of creative vision. Yeah. I think you always have to attribute that to learning your skill set and learning. I had on my previous episode, I talked about creativity, where there's a limitation with your creativity in correlation to budgets, because people have huge budgets, Beyonce budgets, and you can be as creative as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But when people have our budget,
we start from the bottom. Now we're here. We're still
dollar,
at the bottom though.
Yeah, we're dollar menu budget. So
it's so true.
And like Beyonce didn't get that kind of budget until way later, right? So
and that's the thing, right? Like we always look at the glam. We always look at the what we see on TV, but we don't see the drive and the hustle and the sweat and tears that people put in doing their craft. And it's not an overnight success. It's something that you have to practice and try to perfect. But I think with me, over the years, like I've really been struggling with my fear and this whole imposter syndrome. And it's always been a conversation that people have about imposter syndrome, especially as a creative, because even when you do good work that other people see, I just sometimes feel like a fraud. Like, oh, how did I get here? Like, how am I in this space? You know what I mean? Talking to these kind of people. Because all I've ever dealt with was fear. And all I've ever really dealt with was like contemplation and just like, and total anxiety around that. And it's just so scary. It's a scary place, but it's literally just an experience that I have to kind of go through and constantly push myself. But fear has sometimes broken me down, and it's because of fear that I wasn't really able to do what I always envisioned in my head. And I've always tried to think of things, but I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't even think I can even get to that level, because if I want to create like a groundbreaking like showcase, exhibitions, tour around the world, it's been in my head for 5 years, but I've never been able to deal with the fear aspect of, well, how do I overcome this in order for me to actually experience a level of greatness that obviously will take some time on. But the past years I've really been dealing and have been struggling in the area of fear as well. So it's
pain.
It's painful. I'm not gonna lie.
But so here's my main question. What's stopping you? Like besides the fear aspect, something that I've realized in the past couple of years, I have a ton of haters.
Okay, we're always gonna have haters.
We're always gonna have haters, right? And and they could be hating behind the scenes, and they could be hating, where they're talking, kind of between their friends. But I also have a lot of odd supporters, and they're usually a lot more quieter. And I've noticed in the past couple of years where I have people keep jacking my swag, and it's like an old school. It's an old school kind of saying, but I've noticed a lot of people kind of mimicking the style of photography, the style of verbiage, even like video shots. And I'm like, okay, there's something off here. Like people are admiring that, right? So I think that fear is more sort of validation more than anything else. I think you might not get that validation that you are seeking currently. So I think you have to kind of change your mind frame in terms of how do I get that validation, and how do I feel comfortable in my role in this environment, in this situation, right? So you talk about being an imposter syndrome. If you look at all of Hollywood, they make millions of dollars, a lot of their actors, but they're the exception, not the rule. But they're suffering huge imposter syndrome. Half of LA is full of actors and actresses making 20-30K a year, but on the upper echelon they're making millions of dollars a year, right? But they're all still friends. They're all still trying to get a feel for the industry. Not everyone's successful, but they're still kind of within that core, right? So I think it's more so, it's a cliche where it's like, oh, fake it till you make it kind of thing. But I think it helps if you envision, here's the goal, I'm gonna have a showcase within the next 5 years. You just gotta fucking go for it, right?
Exactly. And it's I don't know, I just feel like there's just a lot of things, right, that kind of come with it. Is just being way too hard on myself, always constantly thinking, I gotta be a little bit more perfect, maybe a little bit of perfectionist has been something, but you know what, but that's the thing, right? When the art is kind of like your baby, you want to make sure that you're taking care of that baby well, and
I agree on that. I agree on that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge perfectionist as well. But you got to remember though, if Little Pump can make millions of dollars doing, being himself, being a complete dumbass, and his art is like bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
You just gotta put out content. You just gotta put out, content. Have a strategy when it comes to your content.
Yeah.
And then overcome these things, right? To me, like I'm a huge rap fan. A lot of folks don't know this. I've listened to a lot of hardcore rap.
Okay.
And I could probably run laps on a lot of people when it comes to rap.
Let's hear some freestyle then.
No. I got no freestyle.
Let's hear a little something then.
I got no freestyle. So yeah. One day. Yeah.
Maybe.
One day I'd like to be in the sidebar or nomadic kind of range, right? So yeah.
Nomadic is good. He could spit some bars.
Oh yeah, nomadic is see that's one of the things as well too, and something that I want to bring up is recognition and kind of being immersive and validation. To me, people like you, people like nomadic, I feel like they don't get the validation and recognition among the peers, among people in the community, among Edmontonians, among Albertans, Western Canada. So that's the reason why I want to have this this little chat, is because my take on this is guys like nomadic, sidebar, should be at a different level, and we are not doing a great job in terms of promoting them. I look at nomadic, I don't know to the full extent what his, where he's at and stuff, but I feel like he should be bigger. He should be like the J. Cole of the community. He should be like the Kendrick Lamar, where people do revere him. People, I get that, but it's not. He doesn't get that recognition among, like if you ask Edmontonians, where it's like, oh, do you know I'm at nomadic?
But do you feel like it's the recognition from our local community versus like kind of abroad? Because
I think abroad he does well.
Yeah.
But I also realize that local communities, it's weird. Edmonton to me is a very small town in a big city feel.
It really is. But there is opportunities to change all of that, because
Correct.
the city is growing.
Yep.
The urban community is growing.
Yep.
The art scene is growing. And there are a lot more artists that are out there doing work, putting in the work, and we're celebrating that. But it's somewhat quiet, in a sense where it's not like marketed, and like you said, it's not there's not enough support and promotion for these artists. And honestly, I've lived in other places in Canada, and I've spoken, and I have some friends that are in the US and as well in the UK, and I just feel like the whole energy is different.
Yeah, very different.
Obviously, when you're in a bigger city, like
Very
there's going to be a lot of competition, obviously, because everybody wants to kind of make it, and there's just so much more enthusiasm in those spaces.
100%.
But here, I feel like people take a very conservative approach when it comes to investing in your art or promoting your art or sticking their name, with your art in order for them to present it. And I've had to go through those hurdles.
Of course.
Just even within the year that I, have been here, coming back from BC. So I get it, and I think it's just something that we just have to come together as a community to be like, hey, listen, there's some dope ass people out here, and they need to get the recognition. In order to do that,
they need to be validated.
Let's share stories. Yeah, exactly.
They need to be validated, and they need to be nurtured. So one of the key things that Mosquers presenting with the Somali community this Saturday. Do check it out. One of the good things is Mosquers in the Somali community are presenting artists like yourself, and you have a show coming up as well within the next few months.
Yeah, so I'm trying to promote a show that's going to be in the late summer, early fall. Dates haven't been verified, but do follow me on SAI_BAR, on Instagram. That's my Instagram handler.
Nice.
And you'll definitely get all the news and updates. But I'm just trying to really promote a show that is basically an immersive poetry and light show, where we, take people on a journey of what does the Black experience, the African Canadian experience look like, and how do we kind of engage everybody in the audience to understand that Black experience. So I am just trying to create. It's going to be a very interesting type of show because there's going to be it's really galactic in a sense where we're kind of in this outer space, but yet we're talking about real issues, issues of race, issues of identity, and issues within our community as well, and how do we kind of heal from the traumas. But it's really going to be done in a way that's very fantasy, very sci-fi. So be on the lookout, guys. It's going to be a very immersive show. And it's very multidisciplinary. So that's kind of what I try to do is I challenge myself, and I'm trying to overcome those fears and trying to say, you know what, if this hasn't been done before, why not be the first to do it?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And you always need to push out content.
Exactly.
You got to remember, if Little Pump can do it, you can do it.
I mean, anybody can do it.
Yeah, anybody can do it better. Anybody can do it way better.
Put one and two together and just make it happen.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things I want to talk about is nurturing the artists and nurturing relevancy and nurturing the art. A lot of folks are they're all woke now. Everybody's just woke. Oh my God, this is how I feel.
It's the code language.
Yeah, it's a code. I think the woke should be within the art and not in the wave. Everybody's on the wave right now, so everybody's just I'm feeling this wokeness.
Yeah.
But that wokeness doesn't last that long. If you have an impactful art, it lasts a very, very long time. I remember a couple of years back. I don't know how long we've known each other. Probably.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
We've done some projects together.
Yeah. So I want to say maybe around 10 years or so.
Yeah.
She had tons of great spoken word, and that kind of impact lasts a very long time, and it can reach to a lot of younger folks, minorities, even some older generations, right? I think that kind of art speaks volumes in the long run. So that's something that we as a society should nurture the different artists and the different performers and different people within our community, and hopefully be able to push them to grow. And that's something that I strive to look for, right? So you were mentioning about Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
So I just learned something recently. So Royce the 5'9" had made an album called The Allegory.
Okay.
Just got released last Friday. Fantastic album. You guys should check it out. And one of the songs had a childhood rhyme to it, and it was an ice cream truck.
Mm.
Did you know that ice cream truck, the music that we listen to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Holy shit! I did not know this at all. Because obviously I wasn't born here. I was born in Asia, and so a lot of these, plight and a lot of these issues are not a thing for us, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about racism. That's that's a hidden racism that people don't even fucking see, man.
I think what is it? It was a reference of that song was a reference to
N-word like my watermelon.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a 1930s song from Warner Group, by the way.
How does the melody go?
Oh no.
But you guys know the ice cream.
Yeah. Anytime. Ice cream truck.
It doesn't change.
Yeah, it doesn't change. And that song is the most racist song in the world.
I've seen that stuff on social media, and I'm like, whoa. I remember running after those trucks, and and it gets you, and you're like, oh, it's the ice cream man.
It's the ice cream music.
And I grew up in Canada most of my life, and across the country as well, and it's been consistent. You never think about that kind of stuff, but how crazy is that?
And this is
we're still hearing it.
Yeah, and this is how society pushes racism on you, and they'll push on different things where you don't know the full background. And I think that's something that we need to have, especially kind of on the on our end. Have all the information needed, all the information present, so we will be able to decode it on our own, and be able to react on our own. We are nurtured with that type of racism, and it's an indirect racism where you're listening to these things. People are saying, even for me, I have a 68-year-old associate of mine, and he's an older Chinese dude, and people come in and like, oh hey Ching Chong, And
Yeah.
like I'm like, yo, man, like people don't know that I'm Chinese, and that shit just like doesn't fly.
It just doesn't fly at
like
all.
it just doesn't fly. Like to me, a lot of like minorities going through, and not to take away the Black History Month, I think a lot of minorities are going through that trauma, and they just don't know how to decode, don't know how to feel. And I think presenting information and gathering information and be able to, just tell it like it is. I think that's one of the key things. That,
And
Yeah.
the one thing too, right? And it's like when we see things that are racist, we can't be. I don't care how old they are. I
Yeah.
don't care if they're a baby or if they're in their 90s and they got days left to live. You know what I mean?
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's like, they grew up in that era.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you gotta call it out for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not. And if I see like some racist remarks that are being made by
Different groups.
groups, and it might not directly affect me, I'm gonna call it out too. I think we all need to start acting, and we all need to start being allies to each other, and especially with talking about Black History Month, making it that all the problems that we face in the Black community, making sure that we have allies of other different races, of other different ethnicities, of other different, you know what I mean? Like, we need to really stand up, because if there are people in your life that are of different races, that say that they love you, and that they say that, they'll always have your back, all of these things it's gonna have to affect them at some point, and they're gonna have to stand up for one another. And so I think that's just a practice we need to do in order to make a better reality for ourselves, and live in a better society. So I just feel like it's kind of the time right now. People are really talking about racism and really confronting issues, whether it's systemic issues or whether it's just things that we have always tolerated or have been quiet about. We no longer have to be quiet.
Yep.
We gotta speak up, and otherwise we're just gonna keep dealing with the same trauma that has been carried on for generations and generations, and we just need to do better. That's all.
No, I agree. You had mentioned earlier about trauma within kind of the Black community, and you had mentioned in terms of overcoming that kind of trauma, especially within the Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of trauma do you, as a Black female artist, go through, and as a Black female go through?
Mm-hmm.
And what's something that you would want, the community, within your kind of core community, within the kind of expanded community, want them to understand, and want them to change, or be able to kind of understand what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's your take on that?
Absolutely. I mean, growing up Somali, young Somali girl, in Ottawa and also Vancouver and here in Edmonton as well. I've always had to deal with discrimination, and I've always internalized the issues. Anytime, I'd have people call me the N-word, and these kids are like, they're not even in junior high, they're so young, and just growing up with just racist and intolerant people. And this is during the era when immigration was at its high, in the 90s. And there was just so many discrimination, so many intolerance to immigrants, to refugees, and but luckily I was able to be surrounded by a very strong group of women in my life who have taught me to always stay true to who I am, and to never be affected by words that are being said by others that that's not true to me. You know what I mean? If you're going to describe me as something, come correct with it.
Yeah.
So I've had to deal with a lot of issues, and I didn't realize it was trauma. When we think of trauma, we think of like, oh well,
he fell down.
And it's like, oh my God, he's going through a whole breakdown in his life. But it's not. Trauma can look like anything. It can feel like anything that constantly perpetuates this pain, this anxiety, this negative thought all the time because of the experiences, right? So honestly, I have been able to always, and because I'm a very outspoken person, but growing up I was very shy and quiet, but I've had to grow to become the person I am. It took a long time, and it's not just from racism, but it's also from just seeing, the situation with, like, say for example, the struggles that my community face, when it comes to the youth crime or just inner city issues that the Somali people face. And so that has also took a toll on me. And I was very privileged, and I was very fortunate to grow up, in a household of two parents that are very strong public figures in the Somali community as well, and have always taught us about values and morals that we can also apply in our lives, no matter what it is. And Islam has been a core of that as well, the Islamic principles. So it has been a struggle. And dealing with trauma, I think, when it comes to mental health, we don't necessarily talk a lot about mental health. And it really could affect any child that kind of have to battle with being in a foreign city, being in a foreign country, having to learn the language, my parents having to struggle, trying to start a life here, dealing with discrimination, dealing with bullying. It really takes a toll on any child, and that can also impact, you becoming an adult. It's still going to impact your life until you address it, until we start talking about mental health and how this has really affected our lives. And
mental health's not a thing within the Muslim community,
You think so?
I'm sure. A lot of parents will say, just eat some roti and then, we're good.
Yeah, pray on it.
Yeah, pray on it. So
make dua. Okay?
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
You'll be good.
You'll be good.
And that's what it is, right? Like, we just say, let's just like kind of.
You're having a bad day. Yeah. Just little things like that. Just you're having a bad day. It's okay. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And
like, get over it. Like, be tough.
Yeah,
especially
be mad.
for Black women, right? Like, we're always expected to be strong. Strong for everybody. And I feel like with my experience in being raised by a very strong mother and having older sisters that were very strong, resilient, and just never really took shit. Can I say shit?
It's all good. Talk shit, whatever, right?
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's literally the environment that I've kind of surrounded myself with, and luckily I've been able to. No, I wasn't really like a physical fighter, but I'm like really
mentally. She's like.
I'm really sick with my words. You know what I mean? So
she's hitting you up like
just bam, right?
Yeah, like that. So I think it's good you brought it up, right?
Yeah.
So I think the upbringing that you have, and I always tell this to a lot of artists, and one of the key things that I like to do is kind of mold them and push through their strengths. So Sidebar talked about a lot of the upbringing, a lot of being brought up by a lot of powerful women. And I think when you're going through those kind of fears, you should always say, hey, what would this person do? How would my core, Wonder Woman, react? If I have these doubts about myself. A lot of artists they go through this struggle of like, not finish up my craft, not finish up my content, and because I don't know how people would feel, right? And I don't know if it's perfect, which is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
I think you just gotta put it out. You just gotta put out content, and you like. To me, here's my take for every artist, and every single creative, every single engineer, every single dreamer out there. You owe the world your art, and to me, you are doing the world a disservice if you don't put out your art, because nobody will be able to know you if you don't do shit at all. And always kind of rely on that kind of upbringing. Hey, like I had this traumatic experience, growing up, but I had my core, people that helped me out, and these are the core people that are my, target demographic. These are the core people that I want to be proud of. That I want to make proud of, and hopefully they're proud of me as well, and then be able to kind of strive through for perfection. Mm-hmm. You and I both know we will never achieve perfection.
Yeah.
But the drive to perfection is where your art can grow substantially, right?
Yeah. So
we talk about perfection in art, and the strive and the goal to get there. What are the goals that you're trying to achieve within the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I definitely want to produce more work in poetry, and I want to continue doing this multidisciplinary showcase. I'm going to set tour dates pretty soon, but the first show will be in Edmonton, where it's going to be like a poetry and light show, and then eventually I want to be able to sort of tour that around the world in the next year, 2021. And eventually, from there, once I kind of promote my art live, I want to be able to really put together a visual, like a visual live album.
Okay.
Is what I would love to do eventually, and and we'll kind of see where.
So how would that work though for spoken poetry? So is somebody narrating in the background? There's visual effects coming in the back. Like,
you know what, like with the live installations, like it's one of those things that I'm just so into the performing arts, right? And
okay.
the live performances. So it would essentially just be me performing and having all of these effects around me. Because for me, it's like when I'm doing performances and I'm doing a show, I do it for the experience, and I want audience to experience the story and the thing that I'm trying to do. So I think with the visual album, I mean, it's kind of not, it's something that is under works that I'm trying to figure out, but with the visual album that I have seen with other artists, even with the Lemonade album with Beyonce, I love how she's put together like a thought-provoking visual album, visual story, and it was done through poetry. So it's an inspiration that I draw from that album. It's something that she shared her story and the story of her ancestors, and it's beautiful. And I think I kind of take that and I make it my own. So, but I think my focus right now is just to continue doing live showcases, and just because that's the part that I love so much. And eventually, the album will kind of come in the next couple of years. So.
Yeah. I think that's something that you always have to aspire to and see the end goal of that, and be able to. Understand, like, hey, like once I achieve these goals, there's going to be a bigger goal that I need to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think the drive to get there, the strive to get there, is a key thing for a lot of artists, and it's okay, like, because it's never a linear line to get there. It's always the amount of no's that I've had is painful, and I'm sure you've had.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had a lot of no's,
yes.
Right? And yeah, it's just little things like we almost had a TV show that got canceled, and we had all these things, right? So and you're gonna have a lot of your struggles as well too. Where,
it comes with the package, guys.
It comes with the package. It's never a linear line.
It's never gonna.
Yeah.
We're never gonna work in your favor. So just learn from it.
People think you're like, oh, I'm an artist now. Let me just grab this money and just
kind of be on the limelight. Close enough. No, that's not how it is.
Never is, right? So, so I think if you have that kind of end goal in mind, within the next couple of years, you gotta be the Tiana Taylors. You gotta be your old self. You gotta be the folks that are that you grew up with. The strong, powerful, Black women, right? And you gotta, you always gotta remember that if I don't show this art to the world, I'm doing everybody a discredit. And I think that's something a lot of artists need to learn, need to understand, and need to accept.
Yeah. You
owe it to the world to give the art that you are producing, and without it, I think we're right now we're obviously you and I know we are so far lacking in terms of compassion, in terms of understanding where what art brings to the table, and understanding how to nurture and how to understand different genres of art, different kind of aspects of art, right? So and always like breaking that status quo, just break barriers. If you don't think that, because I mean, being an artist, like you're always going to be
doing new things and always breaking the rules.
Yeah.
That's just a part of it, you
Yeah.
know, and never be afraid of trying something new, you know, and that's something that I'm trying to strive for, you know, in the next few years is, you know, working with other artists. It's not just about poetry. For me, it's just about art. It's about storytelling. It's about impact, just making an impact, because the more I share my story, and if it's something that is going to, you know, affect someone's life in a way that it uplifts them, you know, I think I've won. You know, I don't need any recognition. I don't need any award. I'm not striving to, you know, win all these awards and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to do art that will make an impact on people's lives and on the world. And it's a part of my healing process, because I've went through a lot in my life, not just, you know, in the failures of doing my art, but just the failures of life and what life kind of throws at me sometimes. And it can break you sometimes. But with me, I find through poetry and just doing art is it really brings me back up, and it holds me down. And when I realized, especially in the last 2 years, when I realized, you know, that poetry and just writing poetry is what heals, I could only imagine what this could do for others.
Yes.
So that is the mission that I'm in, is just to create something that will have a great impact in the world.
Yeah. Just imagine if a young girl or even a young guy sees, oh, hey, there's somebody from my background that's, you know, killing the game, or performing live in front of me, and you know they're talking about experiences about, you know, traumas they go through, and let's say they're facing it right now as well. They're like, if this person is, you know, as powerful as I envision them to be, I can be that person, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's a huge thing for a lot of artists, that, you know, they need to understand that we can create an impact for a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
And we need to create those impacts, and we need to have the art flow through, not so much in terms of wave, you know, not so much in terms of the wokeness of it, right?
Yeah.
Just, you know, creating that impact, and, you know, creating that next generation of artists, next generation of performers, and you know, and visual storytellers, and you know, because life without it is just boring. There's too many angry people. There's too many angry people.
It really is. And you know what? And for me, what I try to practice is try to awaken my consciousness. And in order for me to do that, it's just to be straight up authentic. And telling the story that is very unapologetic is something that, whether it's things that I've battled with, or things that I have, it doesn't even have to be about like the story of suffering.
No.
It could be a story of joy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like just living and realizing how beautiful your life is just the way it is. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't have to be touched. It doesn't have to be meddled with. So I feel like, you know, embracing your story, and embracing who you are, I feel like is what produces amazing art.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, can't lie about it.
That's right. So I'm going to be creating a rap about Turquoise, my favorite spot in the world. So Turquoise, sponsor us.
Okay.
You've never had it?
No.
What?
Well,
hold on.
follow through.
Yeah. You've been in Edmonton for a year now?
Yeah.
Oh, Turquoise.
I mean, I've been living in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Been living in Edmonton, but I moved around a lot, and I came back in the last year.
Yeah.
So
Turquoise is the #1 spot in Edmonton.
So tell the folks what Turquoise is.
It's
for people that don't
It's
know
amazing
what
Turkish Lebanese food, and
okay.
you guys need to sponsor us now. So
There you go.
No, it's joking. Yeah, you should hit up when I think it'd be good. So.
Nice.
Is there any last words you want to talk about? Anything you want to say to to your core group of people?
All I'm saying is, stay tuned. Your girl has a lot of things that is in store. Please follow me on Instagram at SAI_BAR, and you'll just know what is gonna go on. Just stay tuned.
Love that.
Follow.
I love that, that eagerness, that that power right there.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be linking her handle as well too. So do follow her. And yeah, we I hope to see you again soon.